Hola María Corina.
Siéntate y yo después me siento.
Hola.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicolas Shola, and today, with LABC, I have the distinguished pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. It is truly an honor to stand before you at this significant event. We have the honor to introduce a remarkable woman, a woman of steel, who has reignited the hearts and hope of millions across the world. Our featured guest this evening is more than a leader. She's a force of nature. She embodies the resilience, courage, passion, and the perseverance that defines the Venezuelan people. Her unwavering commitment to a free and democratic Venezuela has inspired millions, including myself. Regardless of the oppression, threats, and relentless persecution, she has stood tall. She has brought back hope to millions, reminding us that even in the darkest moments, freedom must prevail. María Corina is not only fighting for freedom, she is fighting to reunite families. She is fighting for each and every one of the 8 million Venezuelans who have left their homes, and to restore the dignity of a nation. María Corina reminds us that a better Venezuela is not just a dream, but a reality we must all work towards. For me and for all Venezuelans, she's not just a leader, but she's a hero. As a fellow Venezuelan, I cannot even believe I'm introducing her tonight. Thank you very much, María Corina. What María Corina has done for Venezuela cannot be contextualized using mere words. Her courage and integrity stands as a testament to what true leadership looks like. Without any doubt, I can say María Corina has changed the history of Venezuela. Hand in hand, determined to lead the 8 million Venezuelans, people back to a free and prosperous democracy hasta el final. Please join me in welcoming the one and only María Corina Machado.
Thank you, Nicolas. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all. Very, very grateful for this opportunity to share, our views, vision, expectations, and commitments regarding the future, the very near future of Venezuela. And thrilled to be here with the Boston College community and grateful to Latin American Business Club, especially with Professor Daniel Urosa and with Nicolas Choda, who has been, critical in organizing this. Thank you so much, Carlos. It's been my honor, and I feel fortunate to have been able to fight along truly honest, committed, courageous, intelligent citizens that regardless of how long you have left, sometimes many of you feel very far away from your homeland, your hearts, and your will is very close to our struggle. And certainly to all professors, students, and the community of Boston College at large that are sharing with us this evening. Look, if I want to convey something, to highlight something, it's a huge opportunity we face right now. After 25 years of fighting against a tyranny that is corrupt, cruel, destructive, we have had successes, failures, but we have learned, and never before we have had a unique opportunity such as we have right now to move ahead in a democratic, orderly transition to democracy. But in order to take advantage of that opportunity, we need to act in a coordinated manner. The Venezuelans, all Venezuelans here and abroad, as well as the democratic international community. We had exceeded all expectations. Venezuelan society has overcome all kinds of challenges, threats, obstacles, and we have gone through an epic journey that brought us to a huge, unprecedented success last July 28th, under the day of the presidential elections. It is important to understand, and that's what I want to share with you tonight, what the outcome of this process will mean, not only for Venezuelans, which is obviously an existential struggle for life, for families, for truth, for freedom, but also how important and the huge impact this will have in Latin America and for the Western Hemisphere at large, especially for the United States of America. If we want to put this into context, you know what has happened in the last 25 years, how a country as Venezuela, that used to be one of the most prosperous, wealthy country in the region, turned out to be today the poorest one. Absolutely not one democratic institution standing, and over a fourth of our population, more than 8 million people have been forced to flee. This because not only of the economic collapse, but mostly because people feel they don't have a future. Imagine what a woman, mother, must be feeling to grab her very young child and to cross a border walking, heading north, and knowing that the Aryan force is waiting for her, well, she most probably will be robbed, violated, or even killed. So when people feel they don't have a future, they need to leave, and that's what they do. So now we have to understand that behind all this process we have lived in these last 2 years is much more than an electoral political fight. If you see it from that perspective, you will stay at the surface and not understand what has taken place in Venezuela and how this has turned into an existential struggle, and for many Venezuelans, even a spiritual one. In 2023, the beginning of last year, less than 2 years ago, Venezuela looked hopeless. I remember many people telling me around the world, people who truly care about Venezuela, they would say, forget about the electoral cycle of 2024. There's nothing that can be done to defeat Maduro. It's impossible. And we reached out. We decided to listen, to hear, to understand, to trust the Venezuelan people. And an unprecedented citizen movement started to unfold. And we went from state to state, from cities to towns, to tiny communities. I remember going to a place called Delicias in Táchira, just in the border with Colombia, totally controlled by the guerrilla. And people told me, you're crazy. Why are you going there? There are not enough boats up there. It's too dangerous. The last time a presidential candidate had gone there, it was Luis Herrera Campins in the 70s. From then on, not even Chavez had visited Delicias. And we decided that we had to unite a country to give us a sense of purpose, to build trust and links among us beyond rejection of the actual regime. And it turned out to be a movement for human dignity, for solidarity, for justice, for responsibility. And one longing, intense longing, was common all across the country. People telling me, María Corina, I want my kids back home. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to reunite my family. And this is such a powerful motto, this driving force. So we demolished barriers that had been built over 25 years of Chavismo, that had been confronting, dividing Venezuelan society between, rich and poor, black and white, left and right, those that are here, those who had left, and brought an urgency for change. We embraced each other, we opened our hearts, we united as a society. And we had an event that some people might see it as a political tool, which were the primaries, which main objective could have been coordinating the opposition, which had been divided or fragmented. That's not how Venezuelan society addressed it. It was a way to challenge the regime, but at the same time to challenge ourselves. It was a way to give our own leadership, to choose it by our own, to demonstrate our will and our capacity to organize and mobilize. And once again, a lot of people said it was impossible to carry out primaries wholly organized by civil society, with no resources, no media, no electoral council, no protection from armed forces or police. On the contrary, everything was against us. But we prevailed. And the regime mocked us and underestimated the people. And they thought only a few 100,000 people would participate. And when October 22nd, 2023 arrived, and we started seeing what was happening, not only around Venezuela, but also abroad, because we needed to have our diaspora participating. I knew that was a point of inflection, a tipping point. We ran out of ballots, not in our best expectations. We had estimated so many people who show up. And it was a direct message. It was a huge lesson that an era had ended and a new one was, arising, had been born. And that gave us so much self-confidence and trust among each other. So we went into the offensive for the next stage, which was the presidential elections. When the regime realized what had happened and how they had committed a huge mistake, underestimating our will, our capacity to organize and mobilize, well, they decided to block me, and they banned me. They confirmed a banning for participating. It was a very tough decision. For me, of course, it was unjust. Many people thought I should not step aside, but we realized that our mandate was to go hasta el final, until the end. And we had to overcome this. And we found a great woman. She's an 80-year-old philosopher who had been part of the Primaries Commission, organized the commission. And by the way, her name is also Corina. And the regime decided not to allow her to register. So we had to go through a second round, and it was really hard to find someone. Finally, the regime would accept to register. It was wonderful to find Edmundo González Urrutia, someone totally unknown, a diplomat. But the regime thought that only in a couple of months it was possible. Someone unknown could receive the support of a majority, enthusiastic majority of Venezuelans. So we had to carry out a process that you can hardly call it an electoral campaign. I mean, we broke every single conventional rule of how campaigns are carried out. We had no media. I didn't have even one interview on national radio TV. We couldn't pay for one ad, not even in social media. We had no flyers. We had no posters. We could not pay people. They were all volunteers. And it turned out to be a cause embraced by the people. And all our slogans, messages, songs, prayers came from what citizens came up with. At the end of the campaign, we couldn't even stay over one night in a hotel because the tax agency would come and close it. We couldn't stop in the route and get some food. Even gas stations were closed along the highways. So it turned into an epic process in which people owned it and turned it into an existential struggle, as I said. We decided in preparation for the presidential elections and worked hard on this, that, you know, we have had over 30 elections in the last 25 years. All of them had had some degree of fraud. Some were clearly scam elections. But we had to turn all the electoral engineer that the regime had been maneuvering and building during all these years into what we call electoral intelligence, and was understanding deeply the process and its vulnerabilities for the regime. So we started organizing a huge network of citizens that had to be trained, that had to be communicated in real time, that had specific tasks and had the tools in order to monitor the process and guarantee that we would be present in every single polling station, something that had never happened before, even those that were in the middle of, military campus or government institutions, even in prisons. We trained over 400,000 people, and we created and promoted a new kind of organization we had never seen before, which we call comanditos. And these were spontaneous, tiny groups organized all over the country that people built with individuals they trusted, their families, their neighbors, colleagues at work, whatever. And we managed to build and register 69,506 comanditos, each one having at least 10 people. So we're talking of over 700,000 people. When the day came, July 28th, we had over 1 million Venezuelans with specific duties deployed all over our territory. And at the same time, we realized that we had not only to win, we had to prove we had won. So we had to manage to get hold of original tally sheets that the electoral machines print for our electoral monitors, witnesses, testigos, as we call them. Of course, when the day came, the regime ordered that our witnesses were expelled from the electoral sites. And it was a really, really tough moment all over the country in which comanditos and society were pushing for them to stay. And the orders came from the regime. And what's interesting to see, what was the behavior of the employees of the Electoral Council and members of the armed force that have a responsibility of taking care of the process all over the country. We were allowed to have them. They came back in when they have been pushed out. And at the end of the day, we were able to collect over 83% of those tally sheets that were immediately collected in specific centers that we had located. No one knew where they were, with electricity, fast access to internet, state-of-the-art scanners, computers, cell phones, and so on. In these centers, all the tally sheets were scanned, digitized, and put on a web page so that in less than 24 hours, every single Venezuelan could see their own tally sheets of their own voting center, and the whole world could scrutinize and analyze the results. This is something certainly the regime was not expecting. They didn't expect a huge, massive turnout. They never expected 70% of the population voting for Edmundo González, but they never, ever thought we were going to be able to prove it. At the end, what they didn't realize, and many others abroad neither, is that this was much more than an electoral process. This was a deep, profound social, cultural movement that will have enormous impact in the long run for Venezuela. We were able, as I say, to bring a country together. And if you ask me, the main force that was the driving force at this moment, it is certainly love. Love for our children, for families, love for our country, and love for freedom. The response of the regime was the most brutal repression wave we've ever seen in Venezuela, which was unleashed that same night. In less than a week, over 2,000 Venezuelans have been detained, at least 250 women and 150 children, accused of terrorism. Many were beaten, tortured, forced to record videos supporting Maduro. People were looked at their own houses. Electoral monitors were grabbed and their houses were marked and taken into prison. Just last week, a member of our team in El Estado Anzoátegui, the eastern area of Venezuela, died. He had been detained the day after the election. He had been an electoral monitor. He had diabetes. He was very, very sick. And when he finally was taken to a hospital a few days ago, both of his legs had to be cut, amputadas. And Jesus Manuel Martinez Medina died in the middle of surgery. The week before, Edwin Santos, our campaign manager in El Alto Apure, was grabbed while he was going to his house in a motorcycle. He disappeared for 2 days, and then his body was found thrown in the middle of the road with horrible signs of torture. So this is a kind of terror the regime is trying to impose. The reaction from human rights activists and organizations has been strong. I would say the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights have called what Maduro has done as practices of state terrorism, and the fact-finding mission of the United Nations has called them these acts as crimes against humanity. Maduro feels today that the cost of repression is low and that he can keep on repressing hundreds, thousands of Venezuelans, and no one will be held accountable. As we speak, all of those people that had middle to top responsibilities around the country right now are either in hiding, in exile, under asylum, or in prison. Every single one. So this is a moment in which we have to understand what's at stake right now. We've never had what we have right now. We have a united country. If the elections were going to be called, if were carried today, even in the same conditions of what we did it on July 28, believe me, we would win with at least 90% of the votes. So what's at stake right now? If Maduro stays in power, we will see the biggest migration wave we've seen so far. 3, 4, 5 million Venezuelans heading north. We will see how drug smuggling and trafficking increases. We will see how the political destabilization of the region gets more and more intense. his liaisons with Russia, Iran, are going to strengthen. On the other hand, if we manage to move ahead in an ordered transition, we will see in a very short time, not only the migration flow stopping, but we will see hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans coming back home. We will dismantle these criminal organizations that have found a safe haven in Venezuela. And certainly we will establish strong and win-win relationships with our neighbors and other democratic governments in the region. And finally, I have to say, we will have Venezuela finally being able to take advantage of our huge energy resources. In short, we will turn Venezuela from the criminal hub of the Americas into the energy hub of the Americas. And this could happen really soon if we all act with our, a comprehensive strategy. What needs to happen for that to move ahead? Well, as I've said several times, while Maduro feels that the cost of living power is higher than the cost of staying in power, we will never sit down and negotiate. So we need to increase the cost of staying by force. We need to make it very clear for Maduro and his cronies that the world will not pass a page, and we Venezuelans will never let go. We have to increase the cost of repression, and we have to block the resources from illegal activities that support him today, so that the structure of the system gets more and more weakened, which is already is. Because as I said, we have 90% of the country united. We have a united opposition. We have a legitimated leadership, and we have a system that is fractured as it has never before. So I will end up saying that we face a decisive moment, not only for Venezuela, but I would say for the whole region. Moving ahead into an orderly transition will change the lives of millions, even those that are not been born yet. I have no doubt that this democratization wave will have an immediate impact in Cuba and Nicaragua. And certainly that will have a strong country, Venezuela, that has gone through what it means losing democracy and freedom and willing to defend it as never before. So I am very, very confident, because I trust the Venezuelan people, that this is the outcome we will see soon. We need you more than ever. And I know that, as I've said before, this struggle is hasta el final, and we will have our families and our children back home building a great nation. Thank you very much.
María Corina, how are you? My name is Eduardo, and first of all, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us here at LABC today at the Boston College community. We are very thankful and grateful to hear you and for your time. My question for you was, how do you think the recent United States election can influence what happens in Venezuela and maybe even reestablish like the superpowers' presence in Latin America and the nation? Like, how do you think this will change the course of events in the recent future? Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. Look, we have managed to build a really wide coalition. When you imagine that in Latin America, we have the support from Gabriel Boric to Javier Milei, it proves to you that what we are fighting for goes well beyond the discussions between, ideologies. I mean, this is the main priority in terms of hemispheric security. And that's why we have maintained Venezuela as a bipartisan cause. I mean, if you see the initiatives that have been promoted in Congress and the House, Senate and House, they have always been bipartisan. And at this moment, I think that we are seeing a process. This is a very interesting phase that we're living, going through right now. The last weeks of a previous administration that is starting to move further in terms of pressuring the regime and giving unequivocal messages in terms of what to expect if they do not comply with the sovereign will of the Venezuelan people and our constitution. The same comes from the new administration. The appointments President Trump has done so far, the National Security Council, the Department of State, or Secretary of State, shows that there is a true concern for Latin America, especially for Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, and so on. So I think that the message is being delivered, and that moving from, as Secretary Blinken said, joint statements to joint actions is something that is already in process. So my position is Nicolás Maduro has several weeks until January 10th, in which he has an opportunity in which he would have better conditions for a negotiated transition. If he refuses, he decided to go all the way with strength, violence, arms against Venezuelan people, then he's going to face a really, really bad perspective and he won't have the best conditions for a negotiation. So this is a moment to act. As I have said, yesterday, the European Union also made a very important statement regarding holding accountable perpetrators of violations of human rights. So we finally are seeing the international community reacting, we believe, as they should have done some months ago. But things are definitely changing at this hour.
Hi, María Corina. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to have you here. I want to ask you a question.
What's your name? What's your name?
Sorry, my name is Ale, or María
Ale.
Best.
Where are you from?
Panama.
Okay.
We're neighbors. So my question for you is, the New York Times recently published an article about the Iron Lady that pleads with Trump to save her democracy. Do you think the future of Venezuela is in the hands of the international community, and what are the steps moving forward?
Ale, I think the future of Venezuela is in the hands of Venezuelans. And certainly, I know that we can count with Panama as well, con los panameños. And you have proven that because you have been so generous, opening your hearts and arms to many of my fellow Venezuelans that have had to go there. And even though I know you want many to stay there, I want them to come back home. So no, the future of Venezuela is in the hands of Venezuelans, those who are here, those who are abroad. But certainly Venezuela is a conflict that has many international forces, many criminal geopolitical actors involved. So certainly it is in the best interest of the national security of the Western Hemisphere democratic governments to support what the Venezuelan people has already decided. I mean, we gave a mandate, with the rules of the tyranny, on circumstances no other society would have accepted to go into electoral process. We participated and we won by a landslide. Now it's time to make the international community respect these results and this mandate.
Thank you, María Corina.
Thank you so much.
Hola María Corina, ¿cómo estás? Primero te quería dar las gracias por tu tiempo y por todo lo que has hecho por el pueblo venezolano. Mi pregunta es, si no se llega a un acuerdo de aquí a enero 10, ¿qué se puede esperar de enero 10 hacia adelante? Gracias.
Okay, what's your name?
Daniel,
¿Y de dónde eres tú, Daniel?
yo nací en la República Dominicana, pero mi familia es venezolana.
And you want to come back home?
¿Verdad que sí?
Venezuela is going to be the land of opportunities. You'll see everything is going to be able to be done here. Everything is waiting to be done. Look, Daniel, this has taken a long time. This has been 25 years of struggling. We have fallen, we have lost battles, we have won many others, but we have learned. And we have learned to take everything at a time. You know, these last 2 years have been so hard. I mean, we faced so many threats. Every time, you know, we overcame something, another one came. And people will always tell me, what would you do if we failed? 2 or 3 obstacles in advance. And I say, wait, we're concentrating on winning this one. And that's exactly what we did all over the way. They told us it was impossible to get a country together. We got it back on the foot. They told us it was impossible to hold primaries. We held them. They told us it was impossible to get a presidential election with a united candidate. We got there. They told us it was impossible to win. We did it by a landslide. Now we need what we call cobrar, which is make this result be respected. We're working on that. When it's going to happen, nobody knows. Could be before January 10th. It could take some more time. But what you have to know, and everybody should know, is that we're not going to let go. We will prevail.
Mil gracias, María Corina.
Gracias.
Y viene ahora.
Hi, María Corina. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us. My name is Benjamin. I'm from Colombia, and I wanted to ask you what us as Latino students here in the United States that really resonate with your cause and want to see this bright future you mentioned for Venezuela. What can we help with this cause, and how can we continue this road to victory and bright future for Venezuela?
Wow, Benjamin, I love your question. Thank you. I was expecting it because, you know, if there's something that I'm super proud that we achieved, Benjamin, is that we Venezuelans realize that we are responsible of the outcome of this process. That it's not, you know, a responsibility that we can transfer to political parties, to a leader, to a president, or the international community. No. This is our responsibility. And I believe this is something that in the case of Colombia is existential as well. I mean, the future of Colombia is absolutely united to the future of Venezuela. You cannot have peace, sustainable peace in Colombia if you don't have freedom and democracy in Venezuela. And in order to have democracy, we need Colombia and Colombians. So there's a lot you can do. First of all, you can speak out. I mean, just the fact that you guys are here tonight, it means so much to us because we need to maintain and even increase the strength of Venezuela as a global cause. It's not only a matter of governments, it has to be a matter of the people understanding what it means, how important, how crucial, how real this opportunity is, and how much it affects all of you. Speaking from a Latin American perspective, but also from the rest of Western democracies. So I would ask you, speak out, tell the truth. Don't let the narrative that the regime established, which says that, you know, Maduro is going to stay no matter what by force. No, that's not going to happen. Don't let people think that. Push and press your governments all over the world to do what they ought to do, what it's correct to do. And then help us, you know, send support to everybody you know here and abroad that are organizing, protesting, you know, denouncing what's going on in Venezuela. And then when we move ahead into transition, well, you can come here and invest and take advantage of the great opportunities this country will have from people from abroad and Venezuelans that come back to develop their futures and their families in our country.
Perfect. Thanks for speaking up with us and all you do.
Thank you, Benjamin. It was a pleasure.
Hi, María Corina. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Brazil, but I hold the people of Venezuela very near and dear to my heart. Many friends, many people I know. And so I was just curious to know, I know you mentioned a little bit the influence that other countries, other governments can have on the movement in Venezuela, but I wanted to know, in the case that we do succeed in this, what do you think the influence will be of, Venezuela on other countries that do struggle with certain corruption, abuse of power, and I guess fighting for democracy and justice as a whole?
Explain it a little bit better to me, Gabriel.
What do you think?
If we succeed,
Yeah, in the case that we succeed, what do you think the influence would be on, other Latin American countries that have struggles with democracy?
I understand perfectly. Yeah. Well, that's a very good question, because if you had asked us a few years ago, I would say 10 years ago or a little more, probably many people would say that Venezuelan regime had a strong dependence on the Cuban regime. I believe now it's the other way around. Venezuela can do without Cuba, but Cuba cannot do without the support of Venezuela. So I believe that this will have, I don't know how you say that, ondas expansivas in a very short term.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that a democratic transition in Cuba and Nicaragua will be very likely once we have democracy in Venezuela, and certainly these people will have all our support. And after what we have lived and the support we have received from many countries, believe me, Venezuela will be the most solidary partner in the region to every single country that goes through a moment of difficulty in the democratic process and institutions.
Great. Thank you very much. We're all rooting for you.
Thank you.
Saludos, María Corina. Espero que estés bien. Mi nombre es Roberto Fenmayor, soy de Puerto Rico, pero toda mi familia es de Venezuela. Candidatos como Leopoldo López, Juan Guaidó, entre otros, ¿cuáles han sido sus miedos o qué le ha motivado a seguir a usted hacia adelante?
Hey, Roberto, it's very hard to judge after the events. It could be easy, but it's hard. Sometimes it's not just, because it's easy to see mistakes. And the fact is that we are facing a very cruel regime that has no limits, no scruples whatsoever. These have been trained by the Cubans, and they use every resource to press, to threaten, to blackmail, even using family and threats to your own life. So every moment is different. I think we, the Venezuelan people, are different from what we were a few years ago, what we have endured, what we have learned. If you ask me these last years, and I've been traveling my country for 2 decades right now, and I've been banned from leaving Venezuela for over 10 years. And I'm not even allowed to buy a ticket for a domestic flight in Venezuela. So for 8 years so far. So, I've been traveling with my car, learning, listening. And I think this last couple of years was so intense that people opened their hearts to me, and they made me open my own heart. So I feel now a very different relationship with every single Venezuelan I've known, I've met. It's a very intimate, it's a very close relationship, and we have built trust. And I really trust the Venezuelan people. That's why I'm so confident in the outcome of this process. I have no doubt that Maduro and the regime will go. They will go. Our main challenge is the new society that we build together with very strong pillars, so that never, never again authoritarian, corrupt, criminal regime ever gets close to power in Venezuela.
Hi, Maria Corina. How are you? My name is Federico and I'm from Nicaragua. And I mean, I kind of wanted to base my question a little bit on what Gabriel said before. So, I mean, just to give you some context, I still live there. And if I'm honest, I'm extremely scared every time I go back because I don't know whether I'm getting into the country or not. And this is not only the uncertainty I live, but millions of Nicaraguans living outside the country live on their daily basis. And given that we're having elections in 2 years in 2026, what would you recommend to the Nicaraguan population to do given what just happened in Venezuela? What can we do now and what can we expect for the future to fight for this cause as you did?
Well, Federico, that's a very tough question, and I don't want to answer it lightly because I believe that there are certain things that you can learn from other experiences, but every case is different. Nonetheless, if there's something we have learned is, first of all, you have to speak with the truth. Always grab the truth and bluntly say things as they are. Never underestimate the people. Never think that because reality is tough, you have to put some makeup on it. No way. Respect the people, listen, and speak with the truth. And if you are going to address a process such as that under a regime so cruel, totalitarian, such as Daniel Ortega's, you cannot make believe this is an electoral process. This is something else. And if you address it like that, understanding that the election is a milestone that can be used to mobilize, to reach out, to organize, but never pretending to underestimate or disguise the true nature and challenges that you will face. And if you manage to do that, then people will trust and people will be willing to do things well beyond of what you might have expected from them. So I believe and I hope that by then, when the elections come in Nicaragua, we will have strong democracy in Venezuela. And the reality that you will face will be totally different from what it is right now, but you will move ahead in a democratic transition along with Venezuela.
Thank you, Maria Corina, and I'm looking for a bright future.
Hola María Corina, my name is Mauricio Shola. I left Venezuela when I was 14 years ago in 2018, and since I've left, I haven't been as hopeful as I was that day of the election with you leading everything. Just by having you here, I'm so emotional because you're my hero and my idol. My question is, what should happen from here until January 10th to ensure a peaceful transition?
Well, I'm very excited to see you too, and I'm very grateful for your words. And I want you to know that everything we're doing is for you to have a country that you can feel proud of, that you will come back with everything you have learned, all your creative energy, and deploy it for the benefit of your country. Well, we have very tough 50 days in front of us. We have a comprehensive strategy that we have been following with discipline, and we're moving ahead. There are things that have to be done within Venezuela in different sectors. We have to maintain, strong democratic political direction and unity, work on that. We have to maintain more teams, active and growing. We have to maintain the will to fight so that every day people realize that we are moving further in the right direction. And then we have to keep the international community doing what it takes, everything in a coordinated manner. And in Venezuela, 50 days is very, very, very long term, even though it means that we have to work 24 hours a day if we want to have achieved everything we need.
Thank you, and please bring me back. I'm eager to see you.
We'll bring you back.
Thank you.
Tal, María Corina, mucho gusto y muchas gracias por estar aquí. Mi nombre es Jorge Chamorro y yo soy de Nicaragua. Eh,
Jorge.
sí, Jorge Chamorro.
Jorge. Ujú.
Eh, bueno, yo le quería preguntar un poco sobre lo que nos depara a nosotros los nicaragüenses, porque yo miro que mucha gente está con miedo de, ahora que salimos de estas elecciones, que fallamos en el intento, mucha gente siente el miedo de explotar esta burbuja económica que se creó recientemente, porque ha habido como un periodo en el que hay un estancamiento y hay cierta como estabilidad. Yo le estaba preguntando con esto, en los próximos años, ¿usted mira una posible unificación más sólida en la oposición? Y si nos podía dar algunas palabras de aliento, todos los que apoyamos esta causa.
Ay, Jorge. La verdad es que sí, quiero darte muchas palabras de aliento y por eso lo voy a decir en castellano, porque entiendo perfectamente lo que estás viviendo. Entiendo la angustia, entiendo las dudas, puedo entender que haya sectores que incluso tienen resistencias porque dicen, bueno, mal que bien la cosa está menos fuerte. Entonces, yo estoy aquí sobreviviendo, conmigo no se meten. Pero ¿cuál es la realidad? Tienes un país que está cada día peor. Tú puedes tener islas pequeñas de un aparente bienestar, pero tienes una nación que se está perdiendo. Y al final creer que tú puedes tener algún bienestar económico cuando no hay instituciones políticas de gobernanza que garanticen al final el Estado de Derecho, la igualdad ante la ley, el respeto a la propiedad privada, que somos todos iguales frente a la justicia. Al final esas ilusiones temporales de bienestar explotan por sí solas, eso no es sostenible. Tú no puedes tener un país donde 1, 2, 3% está más o menos bien y el 97% pensando en emigrar o pasando hambre. Entonces, no es fácil porque eso significa que hay algunos sectores que van a tener miedo o que incluso van a querer atacar a quienes busquen el cambio político. Yo lo he vivido y lo vemos en élites de distintos sectores, empresariales, académicas, culturales, que, que, que buscan acomodarse y mirar hacia otra parte y hacer sentir que la situación es sostenible cuando no lo es. Entonces, al final, esto es un tema ético, esto es un tema de orden ético en el cual cada ciudadano tiene que tomar su decisión de qué lado está. Y en el caso de Nicaragua, como en el lado de Venezuela, aquí no hay punto medio. Tú no puedes estar en el punto medio entre el totalitarismo y la libertad, entre la corrupción más brutal y la justicia, entre la vida y la muerte. No hay punto medio. Al final, cada quien tomará su decisión. Y yo confío que el pueblo de Nicaragua también avanzará como el pueblo de Venezuela hacia la libertad, la justicia y la prosperidad, porque vendrán entonces enormes oportunidades para todos, los que tienen grandes empresas que generan empleo y para los ciudadanos más humildes también.
Oh, muchas gracias. Viva la libertad.
Hola, María Corina. My name is Emilio, and I'm from Mexico. But I grew up in Miami, where a lot of my closest friends are from Venezuela. So I have the Venezuelan people very close to my heart. My question to you is, this corruption and tyranny that has, plagued the Venezuelan government for the last 25 years, how will you, as a government, ensure that that corruption and tyranny never returns to Venezuela?
Emilio, lo peor es que this is a corruption that has certainly exploded in the last 25 years with Chavez, but we had corruption before. And at the end, it all has to do with, first, institutions. We need strong democratic institutions. We need a totally independent judiciary system. And we need citizens that are formed, informed, educated, and willing to defend democratic transparency, democracy, transparency, and justice. I mean, you need to have an educated society, and that's something that takes a while. So this is a huge challenge we have. You guys are facing in Mexico as well. So we need to create the correct incentives, and in the case of Venezuela, we will be going through a new foundational process, because every single institution has been teared down. So we have to start from scratch. And that's an opportunity that very few societies have along history in the world. So this is huge. This is transcendental. This is a huge responsibility for us, because what we will do will impact the life of several generations to come.
Hi, María Corina. I just want to say hi. My name is Juliana. I earned my JD in Universidad Católica del Táchira in 2008. I saw the change of Venezuela, and I just want to say thank you for what you're doing on behalf of Barbara. I'm currently studying the LLM, candidate 2000. Sorry, I'm very emotional right now. 2025. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Because it means a lot to me. Okay.
Look, listen to me. Yo soy una gocha asimilada. Amo a los gochos. And
thank you also for when you campaign to literally walk to my city. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. And I'm so sorry they did everything to stop you from reaching out the city, but I'm so thankful you walked all the way there with the motorizados. I don't know. Thank you.
You know what? We will do it again together. And what we're doing is for Barbara, and she will grow in a wonderful, bright Venezuela that will embrace her and give her all the opportunities that you are denied, Juliana. I promise.
Beautiful words, María Corina. I wanted to ask you, you're speaking to a room filled with future leaders in all of our respective industries, respective countries. And I wanted to ask you, how can we be like you when the time comes? How can we represent your values? How can we be as such great persons? How can we have the same determination, courage, everything as you do, and be future leaders of the same quality?
Just go for it. Just go for it. You have it. I never thought, never, ever, I would get involved into politics. Believe me, if you had asked me when I was, university, college, never had answered I would get involved into politics because I thought it would mean making compromises with your values. And I followed my father's steps. He was an engineer, and I decided I want to prove him he didn't have to have a son because we're all girls. And then life gives you opportunities and challenges. And at the end, it's your decision. And it makes you prove yourself. So, every day that goes by, it's a new proof, and then it's a new discovery of what you are able to do if you do it for the right thing. So I have no doubt that all of you have what it takes to be great leaders in your own countries and worldwide. So trust yourselves and go for it.
Thank you very much, María Corina. Here's the room filled with people all the way today.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you all. Carlos, thank you for your introduction. Thank you, Nicolás. It was a huge pleasure to see you all. Well, we count on you. We need you.
Muchísimas gracias, Corina.
Gracias, Carlos.
Thank you, María Corina. Has been a wonderful presentation. I think you conveyed to this audience your efforts, your struggle, and what we can expect from your endeavor in Venezuela.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.